not only my short tutorials, but also other people's tutorials that I found useful. So that's where I would suggest people go. And I'll put that in the, I'll mail that to everyone again, but I think I sent it to everybody at the end of last week, but it's nice to just have that sent to everyone. Anybody else get to try it, have issues that they want kind of help with today, that if we have a chance to talk about it? We got a lot of really cool things to talk about today. I have some ideas, but I'm very happy to kind of play it by ear and deal with questions that are kind of interesting to everybody. But here's kind of what my schedule is for today. And we can alter this. I'm happy to add a week if people want to do it. I'm happy to meet with people individually. We've got Roy and Troy, who are also going to be able to meet with people individually to give them individual help. But lots of cool things going on today. We're going to talk about adding text and pointers, things like arrows, how to do that. I'm going to talk about if people have questions about how to add audio. So like if you want to do a voiceover or add music, I'll show you really simple ways to do that with stuff that you already have existing on your computer. If we have time, I'll show people some of the extra features that OpenShot has. The one that I use the most is the chroma key, which allows you to do a green screen. So if you had a green screen like I've got behind me, and I'll show you what my green screen looks like for those of you who may not have seen it, but I'll just show you. It's basically, it's a curtain, right? It's not even a curtain. It's just like some material that I got from Joann Fabrics, and I can just put it over myself here. It's behind my wall. And not only can I put it over myself, which I love, but I can put it over my chair so that when I do something like do the Sistine Chapel, now you'll notice, now my chair doesn't show in the background. And if I want to disappear behind this, I can just disappear behind it. And then I can jump up and scare everyone like, you know, Michelangelo's ghost, right? So I like to do all kinds of fun things like that. Just have fun with it. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, it's literally cost me like $10. I got this big green sheet. It's got sparkles in it. It's nice. But you pick a color that's almost this green color, and I'll show you again because you can't see it because it looks like I'm touching the Sistine Chapel over here. But if I'm going to stop my virtual background again, I mean, I'll show you what it looks like. I just have up on my wall, I've got a couple of nails in here and knocked over some stuff. But now you'll see it's just, look at that. I literally stapled this against a piece of wood, and then I have some nails on the wall, and I just hang it up on the wall.
Nice.
And then once it's on the wall, now I have a green screen. Oh, I screwed it up. That's okay. I don't really need it today. We'll have it like this. I'm happy to do it. And now the cool thing is I'll have this little area up here that's not going to be in the green screen. So it'll look like.
How much fabric did you buy?
What's that?
How much fabric did you buy?
Very little actually. It's actually, let me fix it. Pardon my back. Maybe 2 yards, 3 yards maximum. And you know, it's ugly fabric, so it's cheap. So there we have it.
Does it go all the way to the floor?
It doesn't have to. So mine goes, and I don't like it to go to the floor because now look what I can do, because I can pick it up very easily and I have it set up so I can just drape it over my chair. And now it's a really nice effect. Right now that's gone. The chair is gone. So I'm just wherever it is that I am, it doesn't look like I'm sitting in an office chair. And it's just here behind me, it's draped against the back of my chair. Stupid tricks like that. That's one of the fun things about video editing, is that you'll start thinking about all these fun, like how can I trick people into thinking that this thing is happening, right? Anyway, I'm going to take this off of there because it's not that comfortable to have a sheet behind you. I prefer to be sitting on it, right? All right, so, and then if we get a chance, I want to show you how to add video clips. So let's say that you have a movie that is on YouTube and you want to show like a 3-minute clip, how do you do that? So I have a really easy way to do that. You're just going to watch the damn thing in real time. You're going to share it on Zoom, and it's going to capture the audio and the video beautifully. And then you'll be able to pop it into a video that you're doing if you wanted to show, you know, a feature film or something like that. I was even able to do it with Netflix. So I actually opened up Netflix on my computer. You got to do it on your computer. So if you have a Netflix account, you just log in on your computer, and then I'll show you how to go ahead and capture that video along with the audio on Netflix. It's very convenient. And then we'll talk about, you know, maybe some transitions and things like that. And then if we have time at the end, we'll talk about where it lives. Like, should it live in Panopto? Should it live in YouTube? What's the benefit of having it live in one or the other? And then what do we do with it after that, right? So let's talk about all those things. But before we do that, I'd love to hear people's perspectives. Have you tried the software? If so, what do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? What have been your difficulties with it?
Hey, Mike, the thing that you just showed me, I know a couple of you had this issue with when I had the different tracks up on the program, it would stop and start and stutter. And I contacted Mike and we went through it. Basically, when we exported it as an MP4, I just actually ran that. It works perfectly, as you said it would. So it's just something that don't worry about the shot stopping and starting through. Just run it as an MP4. That really helped, actually, because I was wasting a lot of time trying to finesse little cuts and clips to see.
Yeah, that's a great point, Fred. And that's one of the things that I like to say. No matter what video editor I'm using, it's really going to be dependent on your machine. And you probably don't have machines that are good enough to do like robust video editing. These are powerful machines that do stuff like Final Cut and all those. So if you got your own crappy machine, just be happy that it's running this software. And then what I like to do is I like to lay down some very simple things. I like to lay down an audio track. I like to lay down a video track. And then I export it, as Fred said, as a movie file. And now here's the trick. Let's say I want it to be fancier. I bring that movie file back into OpenShot, and it's not a bunch of layers. It's now a movie that takes up a lot less processing speed and a lot less processing effort. And now I can do things like add titles, add other music, add other transitions, things like that. Add an intro, add an outro, and I don't have to worry about all of the stupid. Once I get that cut the way I like it, I do like to export it in chunks, right? So that's one workaround, especially if you have a slow machine and if you don't mind saving things along the way. Does everyone understand what I mean by that? And I'll show you if you don't understand what I mean by that later on, but it's a really nice trick. Anyone else? Observations? I think, Susan, you had your hand up, yeah.
So I would like to be able to move whole chunks. So I have a little piece I put together, and I think I've got at 1.5 tracks, maybe 4 tracks, but I would like to be able to move the group over as a set to insert, like I want to insert an opening title. So perfect. How do I move a whole bunch of stuff at once and keep the relationships I worked hard on without, I mean, I guess exporting it as an MP4 and bringing it back would be one way.
No, you're not going to have to do that. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. It's super easy. And I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show you how that looks, because that's a great question. So I'm going to share my OpenShot editor, and you should be able to see it here. And let me go to, I'm going to close my effects box because we don't need that right now. And I'm going to just go ahead and import a couple of videos. So I'm going to go ahead and import some files here. I've got this MP4 file. And I'm going to open that. And let's open up something else. I'll put in a music file maybe. So here, let me go to my desktop. Here's my OpenShot stuff. So I've got a logo, for example, that I want to put in. I've got another file. I've got my green screen movie. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those for right now. Okay, so I've got all those, and I'm just going to add them randomly to my, I don't know if I can do that all at once. Let's find out. I'll probably break it. I probably broke it. Let me just, I'm going to add them one at a time. I'm not going to get fancy. So I've got that one. I've got that one layered, right? I've got my logo that comes in at a certain time. I've got this other video that I have down here. It's all like a big mess, right? So what I like to do, first of all, you know, you can grab this bar at the top, and now I can do things like add more tracks, and I can get as many tracks as I want just by, and if you remember, I told you last week, but you might have forgotten because it might not have made sense at the time. Every track has a little arrow at the left, and if you click on that, now I can do things like add tracks above and below that individual track. Super useful, right? And I can also rename the tracks, and locking the track is also nice. So let's say that this track is exactly where I want it to be, and I don't want to select it when I select everything else. I can lock those tracks. So let's say that I wanted to lock this track, this Zoom 0 MP4 track. So I'm going to lock that track. But now I can, if you notice, I'm just clicking and dragging, and everything is selected and they all turn red. And now it's not letting me move it because that track is locked. So I'm like, okay, great. So now I'm going to uncheck those. But now look what I'll do. I'll click and drag, and I'll select these two at the bottom. But now I have to select that one at the top also. And on the Mac, I'm going to hit Command click. On the Windows machine, you'll hit Control click. And then they're all in red, right? And then what I like to do is I like to just grab them. Let me see if I can grab them here. What's going on here? I'm just going to grab them all because this is too much of a pain. Oh, I have to unlock this track. Sorry, forgot to unlock the track. I'm just going to grab these and I can move them. So I think if any track is locked, things get to be weird. Don't lock any of your tracks. But now you see what I can do. I can move them to up on top. Let's say that, and that gets a little confusing too, right? Because let's say I add my, my logo here. And if I add it up on top, then it appears over my face, which is probably an improvement. But now I can watch that. But now if I move it down below, I'm not going to see it, right? So let's say I wanted to move all of these below that one. I can just do that. And then I can do whatever I want. I can add other tracks in front. Okay, so it's as easy as that. Any other questions that I can answer as people have sort of come up with questions? Yeah, Babs.
So I don't understand like why we have so many tracks and what's the benefit of doing tracks, because I was playing around and I could get my clips to go on one bar. So I don't know when I want to go stay on one bar, when I want to go to another track. I'm a little confused about the tracks, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I like to do when I'm doing my tracks, if I'm going to have like a soft cut, there's no real way to have a soft cut without layering your tracks. So
I don't know what a soft cut means.
I'll show you. I'll show you. So I'm playing this video here. And you can kind of see it at the bottom. I'll stretch it out so you can see it a little bit better. I mean, at the top, I'll stretch. Oops, I got rid of it by accident. And it's here somewhere. No, I must have deleted it. But let me go ahead and get it back. I'll just go to remember view, and then we're going to go to simple view, and that'll bring my video back. And I'll stretch it back out. Now I can watch it. Okay, we don't need the properties bar right now, so that's better.
Mike, can you show me that remember view again? I missed.
Yeah. So up on top, you'll notice there's view, and I can do a bunch of things. I can hide my tab bar. One of the things, I can go to views, and now I can go to simple view or advanced view. And advanced view is going to show me my properties here, which we're going to talk about later. On the left-hand side, it shows me all of the effects that I can do, which I'll show you a little bit later, in the middle area in the center. And you notice how my video and audio and image, they get really small, but I can drag this thing down. You notice where all those dots are. So I can expand that, and I can, so that's, and then anytime I want to get rid of anything, so let's say I want to get rid of my properties. I don't want to see that anymore. There's a little X next to the properties. And there's also a little Windows button at the property. So if I click on the Windows button, you'll notice it becomes a separate area that I can then put somewhere else. And you notice if I want to put it up on top, I can, and it turns gray, and I can just pop it in there. But that's not a great place for it. So I'm going to grab it again. I'll pop it out by clicking on it. And then I can grab it with this gray bar, and I can put it wherever I want, or I can put it on the side somewhere if I don't want it, or I can just delete it, right? So that's how you do that. And I can delete my effects. I can delete my transitions. And then I can just customize it the way I like. So don't be afraid of customizing it, because as I said, no matter what you do to it, once you go to view, views, go to simple view, it pops back into place by the default, right? And then I can drag it there very easily, right? So now let's get back to the why you might want to have actually, let me show you one of the other ones that I had, and I'll show you exactly why. I'm going to open up that dance project. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to save that project. So now if you'll notice, I'm going to show, oops, didn't mean to do that. Got to be careful when you grab this thing. I'm just going to, never mind, I'm just going to redo the view. I'll go to simple view on this one. Okay, so there's my simple view, and you'll notice I'm going to go up here and I'm going to stretch out all my tracks. So I have 8 tracks on here, but one of these tracks is empty. I don't need this track, so I'm going to tidy things up. So I'll go here and I'm just going to remove my track. So now that track is removed. But now if you'll notice what I have in some areas, like this is all the same. It's on my interview track, right? At the bottom here, that's all the same track. But now I've got over here, for example, I've got a video, but I also have another video that's going to come in later, right? So I'll click on here and we'll play it, and then I'll show you what it's going to look like. So you'll notice as soon as it hits there, it does a fast cut. But let's say that I wanted some sort of a fade or something like that. I could do that. I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to bring this back here. And now we'll look at this really more closely. And let me zoom in so you can really see it. So now you'll notice that this slide is just an image, but it's on a different track, and it's slightly above, it's slightly on top of that other track. And if I hit play, bang, it comes in immediately. But now let's say I want that to be a slow fade out. So the only way I can really do that is to overlap the tracks, because if I do a slow fade out, what's going to happen? My fade is going to happen somewhere over here. And what do I have under here? Nothing. It's black. So it'll just go to black, and then it'll fade away from black, right? So what I want to do is I want to overlap it, and I don't want to start my fade until after this track comes in, that bottom track comes in. Otherwise, it's going to fade with black behind it, right? So let me show you what that looks like. So I'll do the fade right here. And I'll say end of clip, and I want to fade out slow. And now if you notice, there's that fade, and you can see where the little dot is right there, that little hash mark, right? And it's right there where now I put my clip right underneath it, right? The clip that I want to come in right after that is right underneath that little notch. And now if I watch it, you notice what happens. It comes in nice. But now if I moved it over here, what's going to happen? It might be okay for this particular clip, but it's going to fade out. There's black underneath it. And then that other thing is going to fade in, which may be fine. But if you don't want that, you have to know how to overlap your clips so that you have nicer transitions.
Mike, quick question. This is Anne.
Yeah.
So I lost my whole project, but I've got all my stuff saved. So I re-imported it. It's asking me when I import my images, do I want to import them as a sequence?
You do not want to import them as a sequence, because then they'll be this weird kind of animated GIF file.
Okay. So then my other question is, how do you make, I have 2 questions. How do you make the JPEG long? Like, how do you make it last for, you know, a second or 2 seconds or whatever? And then the other question is, I added a music track, but you know, there are parts that I want the music track to be very quiet so you can hear the dialogue of the film. Can I edit the music track within this program, or do I have to edit the music track like in Audacity and then, you know exactly like at 13 seconds, I want to fade the music down to nothing, but then I want to fade it back up at 20 seconds.
So you can do it in either place. It really depends on what you feel comfortable with. So if I were going to bring music in here, and let me make sure that I'm sharing my audio as well. Hang on a second. Share computer sound and optimize for video. Okay, so let me bring in some audio, and we'll just kind of mess around with that. Let's see where do I have any audio? Yeah, so I have some audio files. I have some M4A files. And you know what the hell? Let's just delete this whole thing and we'll start from scratch. So I'm just going to grab all of my stuff and I'm going to delete right? It's all gone. But everything in my project is here in my project files area. And what I'll do now, so I don't lose the other thing, I'm going to say File, Save Project As, and I'll say New Project so that I don't accidentally save it on top of that other one after I deleted everything, right? And I'm just going to put that right on my desktop. So now it's saved as New Project, and you can see that it's saved as New Project. Oops, sorry. You can see it's saved as New Project because it says New Project up on top, right? So let me go ahead and drag an M4A file. So here is, well, here's an MP3 file. That'll be easier. I'm just going to drag an MP3 file, and I can grab it and I can put it on anything that I want. I'm going to not make that interview. I'm going to unlock that. So I'm going to drop it in my first track, right? So now I can play it. Let's see if it plays. And hopefully everyone can hear that. So if I wanted to clip it, if I wanted to, let me go ahead and I'm going to do the fine tuning bit because you're all going to need to see how to do the fine tuning bit. So I'm going to right click anywhere where I want the music to kind of come in. And you notice how I have this properties thing? There's a little gear. I'm going to click on properties to bring that properties back. So let's talk about keyframes. So at the very beginning, I want it to be 0 volume, right? So at the very beginning where this line is, I'm going to set it at 0 volume. And so let's go ahead and find the volume. And it's at 1 right now. 1 is the maximum. But now I'm just going to type in 0, right? And now it's 0 volume, but it's 0 volume for the whole clip right now because I don't have a keyframe in there. Let's go to the place where I want the music to be at 100% volume, at a 1, right? So let's say that I have a video that I want, so I'm going to go to my images, for example. I've got this slide and I'm going to put it here. And let's say I want it to come in, I want it to be fully in when this slide first appears. And I'm going to stretch out that. And you also asked about the JPEG. That's how you make a JPEG longer. You just stretch it. See what I did there? I just hovered over it. I get those the arrows that go back and forth, and I can just stretch it. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my cursor right there at the beginning, right? Because I want that to be where it's 100% volume. I want that to be the first moment that that's 100% volume. But now you'll notice if I go to volume, oops, I'm on the wrong track. Make sure you have the right track selected. Did you notice that? I had the wrong track selected. It was slide 3, JPEG. And if you notice the volume on that, it's at 1 because JPEGs don't have volume. So they're 100% volume. But now my audio, if you notice when I click on that, what's the volume? It's at 0 here, right? Because we set it to be 0. But now if I click on it exactly where I want it to be at 1, I'm going to change that to 1. And now you'll notice it has made a keyframe, and you'll see the keyframe is right there. And now let's say right after this clip, I want it to go down to a 0.43, right? At the very end of the clip, I can do that too. So I can click here, and I can say, by this point, I want it to still be 1, right? So I'm going to set that volume. I'm going to set it for 1. Let me see. And now you notice I had to do it again because it creates that keyframe. Now it knows what do I want? I want it to be 0 at the beginning. I want it to build to be 1 right here. And look at what happens. Look at what happens under the properties. As I'm dragging, look, it's coming up and up and up, right? And now I want it to be 100%. I want it to be 1 the entire time here. And then when I get to the end, right here, I want it to start going down back. And now it's still at 1. So at the very end, let's say I want it to be 0% at the end. Or let's say I wanted it to go to 40% right here. And I want it to remain constant at 40% right there. So I'll do that. I'll go to volume and I'll go to 0.4, right? I'll say enter. And look at what it's done. It's put another keyframe in there exactly where I want it to go to 0.4. And it'll remain at 0.4 until the end. That's why I like working with keyframes. That's a little bit easier, and you really get to fine tune it more than a right click does. You can do some basic things with a fine click, but that's how you'd go ahead and do that.
where do we see the keyframe, Mike?
So if you can see the little, let me see if I can.
Okay.
You see these little red lines, like little hashtags. Every time so now if you watch it, let's watch it, but I don't want you to watch the video. I want you to watch, as we're playing it, I want you to watch what the volume says. It's at 0 right now, right here. You can see that. And I'm going to play it. Oh, it's actually not moving, unfortunately. I think it's doing too many things at once, so it can't really do that. But if I pause it, you'll see now it's at 27.27. And I can play it again, and it'll hold, right? And I'll say, well, how loud is that? That's the perfect volume. That's how loud I want it to be. You say, stop. That's 0.45. So now you know you can set the whole thing at 0.45, right? So there are so many ways to fine tune it. I love working with the audio with these numbers. I think it works much easier than trying to do it with the right click and then deciding if I wanted to lower the volume or raise the volume. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that clear? Because I think this is one of the real strengths of OpenShot. And if you can understand this, you really understand a lot of it. And volume is going to work exactly the same as a fade, as everything. Exactly what I showed you here with the keyframes. We can do the same thing with the fade in, fade out, and I'll show you that with the slide. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, can you just play that first up to the slide? I just want to see how it comes in.
Yes. And you can hear how nice it's building slowly.
Yeah.
And now you see we have a timer here running, so we know how many seconds it is as well, which is nice.
Nice, thanks.
And now it's full volume. And now that slide just pops in because I didn't do a transition. But let's say I want to do a transition and I wanted the slide to come in slowly, the same way that I wanted the video to come in. I mean, the audio to come in. So I'm going to stretch this slide. I'm going to bring it all the way to the beginning, first of all. And I'll stretch it the whole way. Right, so now I notice here's where my audio comes in at 100%. And that's also where I want the picture to come in at 100%. So I can do the same thing here. I can add a keyframe by saying, okay, well, first let me add a keyframe at the very beginning. And what's that going to be? That's going to be the alpha. Alpha is what the actual, the amount of video that you see is. And it's at 1 right now, but I want it to be at 0. Right, for the whole clip. And remember, what's that going to do? That's going to put the keyframe at the very beginning. It's hard to see a keyframe at the beginning, but now look what happens when I play it. It's blank, right? Because there's 0. But now I want it to come in slowly. So I'm going to move it exactly to the spot. And if you want to be exact, remember what you can do right in the center here, this blue bar, I can stretch it and I can really fine tune it. Now I'm looking at like every 1 second. Is here. So 34 seconds, 35 seconds, 36 seconds, 37, right? So you can really fine tune it. So I'm right here and you can see there's my hashtag there. And I'm going to put it right over there. And now that's what I want. Remember, it's at 0% alpha here, but I want it to be at 1 alpha. So I'm just going to type in a 1. Now it's at 100%. So remember, it's going to be 100% until I change it, but it was a 0%. And now when I stretch it, it starts to fade, 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 fade. And it's going to go out. So now I'm going to pull it back and get used to the slider bar. It's really going to save you so much effort. See how I can make it really small. That way, if I need to see, the whole project, I can see the whole project, then I can stretch it out and see the smaller pieces of the project, right? So now if I bring it all the way to the beginning, let's watch it. Just a really nice slow fade. Okay, questions?
Mike, I have a question. How are you, like I'm trying to navigate so much on this little window of this play and pause, and I see like you are able to play it without going over to hit your...
I hit the space bar.
Oh, could you talk me through that real fast, please?
Yeah, so here I am. I'm just, if you're looking at your screen, and I mean, all I do is I hit my space bar when it's in the where I want to play it, and then that automatically hits the start button. And if I hit space bar again, it pauses it.
Okay,
it's a really convenient tool. Sorry I didn't mention that, but thanks for noticing that.
Yeah.
Other things that you're curious about or want to get into? So now we've got this. It's a really great start. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you, you know what? I'm going to show you the green screen without a green screen. I'm going to show you the green screen with a white screen. So let's say I wanted, I'm going to get another picture in here somewhere because it's easier to see with pictures, I think, than with video. So I'll import a file, and I'm going to go to my, what's that? No, I don't want that one. I'll go to my desktop, and I'm going to go to my, that's kind of cool. Okay, I'll grab some pictures of a project that a kid was working on about garlic. I mean, ginger, not garlic. So I've got some pictures here, and I'm just going to kind of overlap them over here. So I've got one over here, right? And now if I want to watch, look at that one. Oh, that's the same one, sorry. I'm going to grab this piece of this picture of powdered ginger. Oh, I guess that's not ginger. I don't know what that is. It's some sort of powder. So now if I watch this, hang on, bring it a little bit over here. Okay, so it's just going to do that kind of transition, right? But now let's say that I wanted this white part in the in this picture to be clear, so I could see the video behind it. I could see the image behind it. Well, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to do a chroma key adjustment. It doesn't have to be black. It doesn't have to be a green screen. It could be a white screen. But the thing is, the color that you're trying to remove has to be a unique color in that image. Otherwise, it'll remove other stuff for you. Let me show you what I mean. So here's the fun part. I'm going to go to the effects button over here. If everyone sees where the effects button is, it's if you're in Simple View, the effects button is right down at the bottom between project files, transitions, and effects, right? Or if you're in Advanced View, it's going to appear right there at the bottom in the actual window. But now what I want is I want something called chroma key, which is green screen, right? So I'm going to go to my green screen. And if I want to apply the chroma key to an image or a video or anything else I want, I drag it and I just drop it right onto my slide that I wanted to take an effect on. And that's the case with any of these effects. You just drag it and you drop it. And if you notice, if you look really small, there's a C that appeared in green. That is the chroma key link. If you can see that, I don't know if you can see that. But that's the chroma key link. And now all I need to do is tell it which color to get rid of. So how to tell it which color to get rid of. I'm going to click on the green box that says C to select it. And now if you'll notice, look at my properties window. It's switched from the properties of my image of the selected track. You notice this is the properties for all the selected track, how the alpha, the location of it, all of that stuff. But now when I click on the C, it changes to that object, right? So now there's something called a key color. And for this one, I'm going to click on it, and you'll notice this box pops up. And if you know what color it is, you can choose the color. And don't try to get into any of this. I just want to show you what's involved. If you want to do something like this, you'll meet with me, you'll meet with Troy, you'll meet with Roy. We'll show you how to do it. Everything will be cool. But I'll show you just how easy it is. So now I'm just going to choose white. So here's white, right? And that looks like it's white. And I'll say, okay. And look what happened. That all the white in that picture immediately disappeared. And I can play with how much fuzz I want. So right now it's at 5, and I can drag it. And you notice as I go further up, I'm at 18, I'm at 20, I'm at 25. And look at how much white has now disappeared. And now I have this picture that doesn't have any white behind. You can do the same thing with a green screen, but this is in the wrong place. So how do I move this thing? I'm going to go back to I clicked back on the link, on the the tracks, and I've only selected this JPEG. And now my properties are back. And now look, I've got all of these cool properties here. One of the things I can do if I don't want to learn the properties over here, I can right click on it. I can say transform. And now you'll notice I can move this, I can shrink it. I'll move it over here maybe. I can shrink it down maybe. It's a little weird to shrink down. I'm going to hit the control key or the command key. I'll hit the command key on a Mac so that it will not shrink disproportionately. While I drag, I'll hit the control key on a Windows machine so it doesn't get all weird, right? So now I'll release it, and now here it's nice and small. And I can move it wherever I want. But you'll notice it also makes those changes in the properties area. So the location of X is -26. Let's say I really want to fine tune it. I can move it, and now the location of X is going to be at 0.31 instead. And the location of Y is at 0.03. Let's say I want to move it down to 0.22. So I can move it wherever I'd like, right? And I can also, remember we did the keyframes before? I can also have keyframe effects on the size and the placement of these things. So let's say I want it to be there the whole time. Oh, you see what it did? It did something weird. Let me see what's happening. Okay, you notice what it did? It did that weird thing where it got smaller. And so it took that keyframe, and I'm like, shit, why did it take that keyframe? So now I'm gonna zoom it up so that I can see really close in. And I'm gonna pull over here and look, I put those keyframes in by accident. So what can I do? I can cheat. I'm just gonna shrink that down so there's no keyframe over there, and I can start again if I want. So now it's gonna start over here. Oops, what did I do wrong? I might have set that as a 0. Oh, I got rid of the start. I mean, I got rid of the alpha, and now it's a 0. So I'm going to bring it back to a 1 so that it's always visible. So let's play it. Oh, did I mess it up? Oh, and it's 0.7. Oh, it must have kept the keyframe from somewhere else. I was doing all kinds of weird stuff. So that's why when I screw up too much, I hit delete. I just start again. I'm going to go to my image, and I'll drag another picture of Ginger on there, and I can start all over again. Did that make sense? Did I go too fast? How to do the chroma key? I just drag it, drop it in here. I get the little C. I decide the key color. Now, key color, I'll teach you how to find the key colors. It's not always obvious. And there's a trick to it that I won't get into here because it's too long. But if you want, I can do another lesson next week. I'm happy to meet again for people who want, and we can just talk about issues that you're having. We can just have like an open session. But here's where I'll choose this particular color that I know this particular image has, and I'll hit OK, remember, and now here you can see it's all the white has left that image. And whatever is behind it, in this case, there's nothing behind it, so you'll see black. But whatever's behind it will show through. And then I can use the fuzz to fine tune it. And it doesn't only have to be 25, it will go up to whatever you want. So I like to test it. I like to say 50. But now look, you see what happened when I chose 50? There's all this weird stuff, these artifacts right here. So I'm gonna say, you know what? 50 is too much. I'm gonna go with 40. 40 is a little better, but I can still see some artifacts. You may not be able to because I can see my screen better than you can. But now you see what's going on here. There's this little white here. I want to get rid of that. I want to try to get rid of that. How can I do that? Check what I can do. I can grab the chroma key. I can grab it and I can drag it again. And see what happened? I have a second chroma key here now. If I click on that, I can choose a different key color. And this is, I'm going to show you how I do it. I have this color picker on my Mac. So I open it. The color picker on the software doesn't work. That's why I'm using the color picker on a separate color picker. And you probably have one on your machine. Maybe it works on your machine, but it doesn't work on my machine. So I'm going to choose a color picker. And like I said, don't worry about this. I'll show you how to do it if you need it. And I'm going to choose that color I want to get rid of. Here it is right over here. So I'm going to click on that. And now that has told me what color it is. It's the hex color, this weird numerical thing. I'm just going to copy that, right? And let me go ahead. And you see where it says key color in here? I'm going to click on the key color in the properties area. And here's where I'm going to paste in that number. And it's going to say, get rid of anything that's that color. And you see there's a tiny little thing it got rid of because it's only got a 5% fuzz. I'm going to increase it, and you'll notice more of it and more of it goes away. And if you had a real green screen, you notice how easy it would be now to get rid of all the different shades of green. It's harder for me to get rid of all the different shades of white. So if I went to my video, I could do the same thing. Let me see if I had a green screen video here. I'll bring in a green screen video that I created just to show you what that would look like, just very quickly. So let's see, here's my green screen movie, and I'll open that. And like I said, I'm just going to delete this stuff because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to go into my green screen movie. So here I am, and here I am in front of the green screen, right? This is more practical. I'm not speaking because you don't need to hear me speak twice. And look at how angry I look. But now let's say I want to get rid of this, the green behind me. Very easy to do. I'll grab my chroma key. And if I drop it in here, what's going to happen? It's going to make, oh, maybe it won't. I thought it was going to make a keyframe, but it didn't. Oh, that's nice. So I'll go back to my chroma key. Again, I'll click on it, right? And I'll see the key color. And I'll open my color picker. And like I said, I'm just showing you. I'll choose the color picker. I'll choose a green that's close to my face here. So that I'll get rid of that part. I'll copy that. And now I'll go and I'll add that key to the colors that I want to get rid of. And I'll say, okay. And now look, there's just a tiny bit that I got rid of, but now I can increase this and I'll go 50. So there's a bunch more. I can go 100. And now there's a bunch more, but look, my face is all weird. So I can add as many of these keyframes as I want to get rid of the green if I want to. It's a little time consuming, so I wouldn't really, and the other thing is the lighting is going to be very important. The better lit it is, the easier it's going to be for you to distinguish between colors, and the easier it's going to be for you to get rid of all of the extra junk. So now let's say, so there's something weird behind me here. And if I wanted, I could just drag, I'm going to put this over here, and I'll just drag this guy so that, come on, man, don't delete him. Okay, I'm going to go to images. I'm just going to grab that piece of garlic. You know what? I'm going to grab that Asian guy, and I'm going to pop him right there. So now look, he appears behind me. And if I hit play, it's a little spooky, but now he's in the wrong place. So if I want to move him to the right place, I'll move my cursor back to the very beginning because I want to have that effect on the entire clip, right? And I'm going to go ahead and change the X location, or yeah, there we go. I'm going to change the X location. I'm going to just zip him right into place. And how creepy is that? So now I can hit play. And then there he is. So you can see how that would work if you were really, what a weirdo this guy is. Questions about that? So let's jump right into titling text and things like that, because that's fun too.
Mike, I have a question real fast. Yeah. How can you get rid of or move a keyframe, like if it's not exactly where you thought it was going to be and you need to tweak it a little bit?
So if it's not where you thought it would be, what you can do is, if you know what type of keyframe it is, so here's what you can do. So let's say that I wanted to do a fade that starts kind of here-ish, right? So, or I want it to be 100% right here. So I'll go to my alpha. I'll make sure that I set that at 1 and create that keyframe right there, right? But everything's 1. So now I can set this at 0, right? So that's the whole length of my fade in. And now we can watch it.
Adam, here. Adam Lee. Here.
Right, so that's a nice fade in, but if I didn't want the fade in anymore, what I can do is I can go to the very beginning, I can right click on it, I can go to fade, and I can say no fade, and then that, you notice it disappeared. And now it's going to be at 1, it gets rid of it, it brings it to the default. And that'll be the same thing for volume as well. Any of those, all you'll do is right click, choose the thing that you want. So animate if you want no animation, and the animation is if, like, let's say that, Well, let me show you what the animation looks like. So let's say right about here, let's say I want it to be a quarter screen. And then I want it to go to a larger full-size screen about 10 seconds in. How do I do that? So I'm going to go ahead and right-click here. And if you notice, I'm going to choose layout, and I'm going to choose 1/4 size top left. There it is at the top left. And it has made a keyframe. We don't know it, but it's made a keyframe, right? And look at what it's done. Scale X is 0.5. Scale Y is 0.5. Shear X, oh, well, I think it's just the scale X and the scale Y, and then probably the location X and Y is at 0 and 0, right? So let's say that I want it here to go to full screen. I'll do that. I'll make sure that my cursor is where I want it to be full screen. So let's say 5 seconds in, there's the 5-second mark. And now I have a couple of ways that I can do it. My favorite way is to just go right here and do a 1 right here and do a 1 right here. And now it's full screen. And now I don't even have to change the alpha because the alpha started over there at the top left anyway. I might have had to change the alpha if I had the 1/4 image starting at the top right, because it would have been a different location. But now you'll notice at every step along the way, it shows me exactly the size that it's going to be, and I can play it.
Here. Adamowski.
Right? I don't even remember if there was a question in there. I might have been babbling there. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. And
then if I wanted to delete that, I do the same thing. I right-click on it, layout, reset layout. It brings everything back to the 0. Okay? So that's how you do it. Other questions? Yeah, Susan.
Mike, is there any way to put in notes when you create a keyframe? Like, you know, let's say you get the idea for the perfect image you want to add there, but you don't have it on your slide deck. Can you annotate your work?
I guess you could think of some way to do that. What I generally do if I'm going to do a big project and I want to make sure I have everything in is I have stand-ins. So I would create, you know, whatever that image was that I wanted to be a stand-in, I would put it as a default. I mean, I would just put that as, you know, but there's no way to, like in iMovie or something like that, you can actually tag something and annotate it, unfortunately. I don't think there is anyway. I haven't looked into it. But if there is, I'll get back to you and I'll let you know. I'll look into that, but I don't think so.
Thanks.
Other questions? All right, we ready for some titling? Titling is a little quirky, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. So let's talk about it. I'm going to go back here and we're going to just put in some text. So the way I'm going to put in some text is I'm going to go to title. And there are 2 kinds of titles that you can do. You can do a title or you can do an animated title. Please don't do an animated title. It takes too long and it's annoying and it's not going to work right. And then it's going to render forever and you're not going to like it. So I'm going to go to title, right? And it gives me a bunch of different templates. These are super vague. Don't put much faith in all these templates. You want a basic template. So the template that I'm going to choose, because you can change anything about it, is going to be, I just want a simple title. It says the title, that's fine. And I want to add this to my project. So I find the one that I want and I just go ahead and hit save. All right. Now let's take a look. What has it done? What has it done? It has actually created an image that says title file name 7svg, right? Because that's the name of that thing. Now I can go ahead and edit it from here. I'm going to right click on it. There are 2 ways that you can edit. I can hit edit the title and I'm going to go ahead and hit edit title. And now I see it says the title. But if I wanted to say Ferris Bueller's Day Off, line 1, I'm going to change it to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Right, and it shows you what it's going to look like up on top. I can change the font. And don't bother changing the font size. You can do that later on. Changing the font size, I find, has absolutely no effect on what you see when you drag it into your project. What I do like to do is I like to change the font itself. Unfortunately, it doesn't show you what the fonts look like, so you kind of have to know what they look like or know what you want to use. I'm going to use Chalk Duster for this because after all, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I'm going to say okay. And now if you'll notice, it changes it to that Chalk Duster font. And let me see, maybe I can make it bigger. I doubt it, but I don't know if that made it bigger. Let me select it, change font. No, I don't know what that does, but I'll show you how to make it bigger and smaller later. And I can change the text color because I don't necessarily want it to be that color. So I'll click on text color, and let's say I want it to be white. I can choose that, and I'll say okay. And now you'll notice, I guess that's not really white, but whatever that is. And you can click on Advanced Editor. It's going to open up another program that you have to download and install. Don't worry about that for right now. If you want to get involved with that, we can talk about that later. And now I'm going to say save. So now I've saved that title, and that title says Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? And now, but it says title file name 7. I don't know what the hell that means. So let me change the name of it. I'm going to right click on it. And now if you notice, I have not only the edit title, but I have file properties. And I'll click on file properties. And you'll notice this is where I can change the file name. So I'll say Ferris Bueller text so that it's a little more obvious what it is. I'll say update. So now you'll notice Ferris Bueller text is right here. And now I can treat it just like I treat any other image. That's the really wonderful thing. I've made a PNG file, basically, which means a transparent file. That's a text that looks like text, but it's an image. And I can treat it the same way that I treat all the other images. And I'll grab that and I'll just drag it, drag it to my timeline. And now there it is, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I can play it.
Adam, here. Adam Lee. Here. Adamowski.
Right? Questions about how you add a title. That's the basics. And then we'll get into the other stuff in a second.
Did Ferris really have a day off, or was that an invention? I'm trying to remember the movie. No, I don't recall, but all right.
He did have a day off. He took a day off.
All right, cool. All right.
He took a mental health day.
All right, great.
And then this guy, I forget what his name is, but he's Silver something or other. He starts calling for Ferris Bueller, and he's out, and his chair is empty. And
it was a pause day.
Realize that he's gone.
It was a pause day.
It was a pause day. That's right.
It was a pause day. It was a pause day. All right. So now, let's say that I wanted that to do some fun, funky things, right? So one thing that you can do with Ferris Bueller's Day Off here, I'm going to bring it down to the bottom because it's too high up and everyone's faces are kind of distorted. So I'll say, all right, let's see. I'm going to go to my location, and I can never remember if it's Y or X. I'm not a math guy. Oh, I was right. It was Y. And I can bring that down exactly where I want at the bottom. And I can do any kind of cool stuff I want. So I can do a shear with it. I'm going to do a shear so that it's like, it starts over there. And then I want it to just like zoom across the stage. So I'll come over here at the end. And at the very end, the last frame I want it to do, I'm going to have it do the opposite shear. And now when I watch it, it does this cool animation.
Adam, yeah. Adam Lee.
I mean, it's not that cool, but you see
Adamowski.
What you can do.
Adler.
Just kind of goes across the screen. So like I said, you can treat, that's the really wonderful thing. I taught you how to do images and how to do all of the interchanges with images, how to change the locations. Works exactly the same with the text now. You don't have to do anything different. The only thing that you have to do different is you've got to choose what title you want, right? So I'll go to title, I'll choose a different, here's a camera border, and you notice this one's a little deceiving. It has little brackets that never go away in the corners. So I never like to use the camera border one. But let's say I wanted to use the gray box one, right? Gray box 4. I can do that. And I'll hit save. Remember, that's all I need to do. I don't need to change anything in that box. I'm just copying that image to my project. And then when I go to images, hopefully there it is, title file name 8, right click on it. File properties, change the name to whatever I wanted. So if I wanted that to say Bueller, I'll change that to Bueller. I'll hit update. And now if I click on it, right click on it, I can say edit title, and now it gives me all of those fun things again. So now I can just type in let's try Ferris. And underneath. Right. And that's all I need to do. And I'll hit save. I'll drag that to my project. And now it'll appear on top of the other slide. So there it is. And I can move this out of the way so we can see that one.
Adam, here. Adam Lee. Here. Adamowski. Adam.
Okay. Everyone understand titles? Pretty easy, right? No questions about titles? Good. Pointers. Same thing can happen if you want to add an arrow or something like that. So let's say I want to add an arrow. I actually created a folder in Google Drive that I'll share with everyone that has a bunch of arrows and some artwork, some PNGs, some transparent images with like William and Mary logos that you can play around with and put on top like as watermarks and things like that. But let me just go ahead and open something. So I'm going to import my files. And I'm going to go into my Google Drive, which is where I put everything for you. I'm going to go into my drive. And I've got this video, OpenShot Video Editor Resources. And let me go. Oh, you probably can't see any of this, can you see where I'm browsing? Oh, you can, good. So if you notice, I've got this clip art folder, and some of them has arrows in here, and others are William and Mary ones. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of my red arrows, and I'm going to import them. Let us open. And now you notice I got that question that Anne was asking me about. Would you like to import red arrow 3 as an image sequence? Always choose no for this, because it gets to be a pain. All right, so now all of those red arrows are right here, and same thing. I'm just gonna, and because it's a transparent PNG file, it's the same idea as if it had a green screen and we removed the green screen from it. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna just drag that as well. I'm gonna put that, plop that right into place, and it's gigantic. It's too big for me, right? So same thing. I'm gonna go all the way to the beginning because I wanted to have the effect on the entire slide, on the entire clip, and now I'm going to scale it. So I'm going to go ahead and scale that down, let's say 30. I'll see what I like, and then I can just type in 30 on the other one if I like that size. And oh, I'm sorry, I typed the wrong thing. It's 30. Did I type 300? What did I do? Oh, 0.30, not 30. Sorry, it's 0.30. Okay, so there we go. So now it's really small. Now I can move it either, remember, right click, choose transform, and I get that bounding box around it. Now I can put it wherever I like. Or I can move it based on all of these things. So I can do the location X and Y, and I can move it over. And then I can even tilt it, right? So I can, I wonder which one that is. I guess that's rotation. I can go ahead and rotate it whichever way I want. See that? So now I can do that. I can grab it and I can point it at Ferris Bueller Day Off. And I'll give you all these arrows so you can play around with them, but it's basically the same idea with any invisible, with any transparent image. And you can find lots of transparent images in Google image searches. You just search for, and you have to be careful with the transparent images because sometimes they pretend to be. Let me share my other screen, my whole screen with you. Sometimes they pretend to be invisible, I mean transparent PNG files, but they're not. So if I go to google.com, and now if I go to arrow PNG, so now here's a lot of the ones that I found. And if I click on images here, I have all of these to choose from. And you'll notice that something like this arrow PNG download, it's tricking you into thinking the back is actually invisible. It's not, it's a bunch of checkerboards. So when you try to import this into your project, you're gonna see the checkerboards. So you just have to play around. Like this one, I can tell, did you see what that one was? Look at the difference. So when I look at how this black one looks, you notice how the checkerboard is already on that image in the thumbnail, and then it's repeated on the bigger image. But now look at this one, the download arrow PNG, blah, blah, blah. You notice it doesn't have any of those boxes, but when I click on it, notice all those tiny boxes because that's a PNG and it's invisible in the back. So that's how I know the difference between a regular JPEG and a PNG, but that's something that you will only learn if you need to do something like that. Questions?
Mike, can you just show me one more time how you got the little box and move the arrow?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two ways, as I said, to move the arrow. First way to move the arrow is to use your properties, right?
Yeah, the other one.
The other way is to right click, and now you're going to go to transform.
Oh, okay.
And now you've got, look, you've got a box, you've got a circle in the middle that allows you to move it. And it's got all these little boxes that allow you to stretch it out.
Yeah, that's great. That's all I wanted. I just couldn't find that little puppy.
Yeah, that's what you do. And the other thing you can do, that can also make a keyframe. So watch, if I come here and I want that to do something else in the middle of the image, I can do that too. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to move it where I want. And I'm going to make it smaller, let's say. Or try to make it smaller. So now what that did is, if you notice, now I've got a keyframe right here. And everything after this keyframe is going to look like that thing that I did. But everything before that keyframe is going to try to build from the way I had it to begin with to this keyframe. So let's see what that looks like. It's going to look weird.
Adam, there. Adam, let's see. Here. Adamowski.
Right? So that's what it's happening. All right, so what do you guys want to see? We've got, I showed you the add text and pointers. I showed you how to add audio. I can show you how to record audio, but it's pretty obvious how to record audio. The way I like to record audio for just basic use is I open up a Zoom window and I start my recording. So if I record it to a local machine, that's what I like to do. It makes it very easy. I just record it to a local machine and it's going to save it to my documents folder in general. Let me show you what that is going to look like. Once I've saved it, you know, as I said before, I have to, maybe I didn't say it before this session, but I said it previously. When you're recording in Zoom, it won't save it until you close your Zoom meeting. Once you close your Zoom meeting, it'll save it either locally or to the cloud. So if you notice what happens, I've got in my documents folder, I've got a Zoom folder. And every time I make a recording, a local recording, what happens? I get, let me find one that I've actually done. I get a bunch of different files. I get a Zoom file, the Zoom 0 MP4, and that's going to be a video file. But I also get an audio only file. And if I'm just doing the audio, what the hell? I'll just grab it. I'll pop it into place. Did you see that? I was able to do that. I actually grabbed it from my window and I dragged it into place. And that's my audio only file of that Zoom recording that I made before, right? So now I can just listen to what that sounds like.
Adam, okay, so this is Mike, and I'm recording on this computer, but I'm only recording my audio. Well, you could get the video also, but I'm really only recording the audio.
Right? So, and the audio is going to sound really nice, and now you have it to work with, and I can import it into my project, and I can import it, I can record an outro, an intro, a narration that I need that I forgot to record. Super easy to do from Zoom, right? So that's how to record and import audio into your project. And you can import it the same other way. You don't have to drag it from your folder. You can right click on your the project files. You can go to import files, and then you can even search. So I'll search .mp3. I'll see what else I have. So like I've got some applause. That's a nice thing to add. So I'll just open that. I'll add some applause to it. And I'll go to my audio and I'll make sure that it's there. So there's that applause. And I'm just going to, and I can just keep adding tracks, or if I don't have a track, or if I have a track, I can just drag it there. If I need a track, I can add a track. So here I go. And now I have some applause.
Okay, so this is Mike, and I'm recording on this computer. Okay, so this is Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. I thought I grabbed the applause. There's the applause.
this computer, but I'm only recording the audio. You can get the video also, but I'm really only recording the audio.
Right. So super easy to do intros, outros, musical accompaniments, whatever you want to add to your video. So you may want to see, in the time that we have remaining, what do you want to see? Do you want to see how to add video clips from something like Netflix? Or would you like to see where it lives, whether we're putting it in Panopto or YouTube, and what the affordances are for those? What do you want to see first?
Video clips would be good. I use ClipGrab, but if there are other easier ways.
Yeah, so what I like to do is same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my Zoom meeting. I'm going to stop my share. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, which you can't see at the, actually, let me share my whole screen. I can show you what this looks like. I forgot. So now you should be able to see my whole screen. So I'm going to do a new share. I'm going to go to share screen. I'm going to go to advanced. And here's how I like to do it, just because it's easier for me to see stuff. I go to portion of the screen, right? I'm going to record. I'm going to show you a portion of the screen, but then I'm also going to record a portion of the screen. And I'll make sure that share computer sound is on and optimize screen share for video clip is on, because I want to capture a video clip, and I'm going to say share. Now I get this beautiful green box. Anything I put in this green box is going to be recorded as soon as I hit record. I'm already recording this session, but if I weren't recording this session, I would just hit the record button and it would record the session for me. But now let's see how cool this is. So I'm going to go and, oh, actually, I already showed you, I recorded the few seconds of Schitt's Creek. But now if I go to, I could go to, I have not been looking at election results, sorry. So let me go to Netflix. By the way, if anyone has not seen, if anyone likes what is that? The Good Place, if they haven't seen the last season of it, it's a real tearjerker. I was an emotional wreck after watching it today. All right, so here's Netflix, and let's say Bella's watching. And it's recording all of this now because I have it on record. And now I'm gonna go to Schitt's Creek. I'm gonna say, record that. And now I'll find the episode that I wanna record.
And it's not.
I'll shrink it down.
You're just gonna leave me here with these people?
Yeah.
Now you'll start to see it kind of fill up.
Hello. Is anybody in that hollow chest?
And then what I do so that I'm not, and you could add audio, you could add narration, your own narration to it. Or you could mute yourself, and then it's only capturing the audio from.
How are you holding up?
Oh, you know.
And it looks fine, it looks pretty good. And let me show you, since I can't show you what this particular recording looks like, because we were recording, I'm recording this session and I would have to close this window for it to render. I recorded a little bit before, kind of like Julia Child preparing one in the oven beforehand. And I'll show you what that looks like, and you'll see how good the quality is. So let me stop my share, and then I'll find that one, and I'll share that instead. So I'm gonna go to my desktop, and let's see where that is. Oh. Let me see. Video. Well, now, of course, I can't find it. But you know what? It's as good as that Ferris Bueller one, because I did the same thing with the Ferris Bueller one. I worked it the same way. So we'll just show you the Ferris Bueller one, and you can see that it looks great. And I recorded this off of, I might have recorded this one off of YouTube, but it's the same idea.
Adam, here. Adam Lee.
Here.
Adamowski, Adamson.
Not choppy at all.
Adler.
Sound is great.
Here.
Anderson.
Sorry, I don't think you're sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, you guys are catching on. If I'm not sharing, don't hold back. Say, hey, you're not sharing. Okay, so here we go. And you can see what the quality is going to look like. It looks.
Here. Bueller.
Let me show you I'll open this full screen so you can see it. And that's another, well, let me see if I can. Well, I don't know if I can stretch it after I've done that. Well, anyway, you get the idea. It looks fine for any kind of academic uses.
Bueller.
Right.
He's sick. My best friend's sister.
Anyway, that's how I like to capture it. Now, Fred, if you have another way that you like to capture it and it works for you, you just continue to do it that way. But this is an easy way that anyone can do it, and it's available on your machine right now, right through Zoom. And you do that, you can do Netflix, you can do Amazon Prime, you can do YouTube, you can do any of the library resources if you wanted to capture those, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense necessarily to do for an entire film. I wouldn't do that for a whole film. I mean, you could, and then just delete it from your computer and upload it to Panopto or something like that. Don't upload it to YouTube because YouTube doesn't allow you to do, and that's the other thing. So let's talk about the difference between Panopto and YouTube. If you're going to do stuff like this and you're going to break copyright law, don't use YouTube, because YouTube will flag it and it will get rid of it, or it will send you like cease and desist orders. But you can put it on Panopto, share it through Blackboard, disguise it under a Blackboard login, and it's for academic use. So you could do that, right? Oh, Troy, what did you oh, I guess you're just answering questions. I just noticed that pop up. I see there's 11 chat. I've been ignoring the chat, sorry. All right, so any questions about that?
Mike, I have a totally stupid question.
Good.
But I'm never going to get anywhere. So I've loaded videos and pictures and everything, and I've saved it, and I haven't found it 3 times. So I basically started the same project 3 times and started fiddling with it, and then I go to save it, and then I can't find it. Did you save it? I said I saved it as a new project, and I get a little file on my screen that just gives me 3 folders with gobbledygook in it, and my like lovely, you know, presentation of this program is not there.
So here's what I would suggest that you do. I would suggest that the first thing, if you're looking at your OpenShot video editor, and you go to File and you go to Recent Projects, you should see a list of all of your recent projects. If it's not in here, you didn't save it.
Okay, so okay. All right, well, I did save, I saved it. I went to Save Project As, and I titled it New Project. And
yeah. So if you go to Recent Projects, you don't see anything in your recent projects?
No. Recent Projects. Yeah, New Project, there it is. But Save, change. Project first, yes. Okay, all right. Let me fiddle around with it a little bit more.
Okay, and we can meet up later on as you get involved, and if you still have trouble, you know, any of us, Troy, Roy, or I, and probably me, because I'm more adept at the software itself. So if you have like production questions, things like that, you know, questions on like how to do a really good video, I'm not your guy. Troy or Roy will be able to help you with that. If you have questions about the software or tricks or pedagogical hooks that you might want to put into it, I'm happy to talk to you about those. Other questions before we kind of?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
One thing, Mike, is that you have made me fearless.
Good.
So.
Well, it's always nice to know that somebody is going to be able to help you out if you have questions, to make you a little, you know, just provide a little bit of a safety net. And that's all most people really need.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Mike, can you show me again how to separate the audio from your video?
Yes, let's do that. So I've got Joan Gavaller's interview right here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all my stuff over here. I'll get rid of this interview. Okay, so here's Joan Gavaller's interview. I'll drag it over here. It's sideways. And we're like, I don't want a sideways interview.
Sorry, can you share again?
Share.
What's that? I didn't do it yet. I'm just dragging the video onto the timeline first.
I know, but we can't see.
We can't see.
Well, too bad. I'll show it to you. Hang on. Come on, man. It's 7:15. I've been up all day. All right. So now you can see it. Such whiners. You want to see what it is I'm showing you. So here you see it. And if I play it, it's like, Roy, give me a break with your.
Okay.
camera, man. So you're like, okay, I need to just get the audio from this because the video is no good. So I'm gonna right click on it and look, I'm gonna say separate audio. And I'm gonna say single clip. And then it does this weird, annoying thing. You notice what it does is it puts it right on top of that same clip. It doesn't move it to another track. Now I grabbed it and I dragged it to another track. Now you can notice the clip that has audio has the little audio stuff, so you can see which one is the audio. And it'll also say all channels here. If it's, I guess if it's like mono or stereo, it'll say which channel it is in. But that's how you can tell that it's the audio track. And then I just take this one and I delete it because that's the video that I don't want. And now I've got an audio track that I can add video to.
Okay, so how many dancers are there?
There are 5 dancers.
Right? How's that? So that right click is going to help you.
Great. Can you show me where we could speed up film?
Yeah, absolutely. Same idea as all the other things where you go to that. I'm just going to go ahead and keep undoing this. All right. So let's see, one more undo. So let's say I want to speed up this whole clip.
And we need to share again, please.
Oh,
I really visually need it.
Okay, so I thought that why did I stop sharing? That's weird. I must have just stopped sharing by accident when I shut the thing off. Okay, so here we are. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this and I'll start again from scratch. All right, so here we go. And remind me what it is I'm showing you. I totally forgot.
We're doing a fast forward on
fast forward, right? Yeah. So if you want to do a fast, so I'm going to right click on it, and look, we have time, and I can do normal time, fast time, slow, freeze, whatever I want. So I'm going to go to fast. I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to say, okay, I want it to be 8 times faster. So now if you notice, look at that clip really shrunk down. It just jumped. Now if I watch it, now it's totally dizzying. And you can barely hear the audio, right? Because it's all like squiggly, like Gopher talk. Now if I want to get rid of that, I can say same thing. Time, reset time, it'll drag back out. Very often what you'll want to do is stop the time, is have the time different at different parts of the clip. So I'm just going to delete this because that's really distracting. So I'm going to drag this student interview. And let's say I wanted to speed up the interview, but I wanted it to be normal at the beginning. So I'll click.
I think what's rough is that we're missing out on a lot, that things we don't even know we're missing out on per se. Like.
Okay, so, or you know what, that's a hard one to tell. I'm going to get rid of that because it's better to see with something where there's movement. So I'm going to grab this dance thing and I'm going to first I'm going to separate the audio from it. I'm going to delete the audio because I don't need the audio. And now I'm going to make this super fast. So I'll go to time, fast, forward, 8 times speed. And now I can play it and we'll see what it looks like. And this is a hard one to render. So if you remember what we were talking about at the beginning, when Fred had a problem where it would be jumpy, don't worry about that. It's going to look jumpy. Well, all you need to do is render it. So if I go to File, Export Project, and Export Video, and now I'll call this Fast Forward. And I'll save that right on my desktop. So it's exporting the video. It takes a while to export just because it's crunching all the numbers. And once it does, then it'll be that fast video that I created. Now we can do that thing. And I suggest that if you're going to do like fast forwarding and things like that, it's very processor intensive. This is a great time to do that thing that we were talking about at the beginning, where we just do a fast forward for the clip, and then we export it and re-import it and then delete this whole thing. And then we see it as a movie and it's all been rendered and it doesn't take up a lot of processor speed. So I'm not going to do this because you can see how long it's taking, but that's the idea.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else? This has been a really amazing session for me. I'm kind of dizzy from it. I showed you guys a lot. I don't expect you to remember everything that we talked about, but I expect you to see that it's not hard to do, right? So if you're working on a project and you want extra help, reach out to me or Roy or Troy, whoever you feel comfortable reaching out to, and we're going to be happy to help you with the project. And if you want to meet up, I'll send out a sort of a feeler for next week. If people wanted to get together next week, you know, even if it's a small group, if you really had an interest, I'm happy to get together next week at some time and just kind of answer questions and help you troubleshoot things. And we'll figure all that out. So that said, any parting thoughts, anything that you want answered before we hit the road? Because I have some massaman curry waiting for me.
Very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Doesn't have to be quick.
So I still don't understand. I've watched you do it a couple of times, but if I have a clip on a track that I want to get rid of, how do I get rid of it?
Yeah. So that's just going to be, you're going to select the track, and here I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so you can see the whole track. So I got a couple of tracks here. I got a JPEG and a movie. I want to delete the JPEG because it's like a floating thing of ginger that I don't want here anymore, right? So let's get rid of the floating ginger, and I click on it to select it. You see it turns red, and then I'm just going to hit delete. And then it will give me the beach ball of death, and then it goes away. How's that?
Thanks. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but I couldn't get mine to delete.
Sometimes it just takes a firm voice. All right, folks, this has been a lot of fun for me. I hope that it was educational for you. And I'm so pleased that people found this interesting enough to show up. I think Troy and Roy and I are really grateful for all the positive feedback and all the interest. So yeah, anyway, I'll put this.
I was just telling Mike, as somebody who spent about 30 hours trying to use Premiere Elements a few years back, this is so much easier. It really is. It's,
don't tell it to Roy and Troy, they'll be angry.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been real nice.
Awesome.
All right, folks, it's been great. And like I said, I'll send out another email kind of wrapping things up and then asking if people want to continue in any kind of way, however that might look like for you. It's just been a pleasure. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Bye.